Hey YouTube, it's Bree Hall, aka Hara, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am so excited to bring you one of my favorite hair recipes of all time. I've been making this for about 2 years in different variations. I've gotten a lot of questions on other videos about how I keep my twists so moisturized and juicy and basically cute enough to wear out, and this is one of my favorite recipes for that. And I truly believe the proof is in the pudding. Here's an example of one of my braids that's been in for 11 days in the back side of my head, and it's super frizzy and dry and ready to be washed. Whereas in the front, these are some of my twists that I use my own curling cream. On the braid, I use Camille Rose Naturals, but as you can see, it's so defined. It's so soft to the touch. My twists just unravel beautifully and they don't have a lot of frizz. So I think it speaks for itself. Now, I'll tell you why later in the video, but it's really important that you measure the weight of your bowl or whatever you'll be using to mix your ingredients prior to starting. I invested in a food scale because of my nutritional and fitness journey, but if you don't have one on hand, just Google the common weight of the type of bowl you'll be using. For example, a glass bowl. So to start this recipe, I'm going to be using one of my favorite things in the world, which is homemade flaxseed gel. And flaxseed gel is all natural. Gives you less crunch, it's way less damaging than some of our store-bought gels, it's moisturizing, and it gives you great slip when you're detangling and styling your hair. It makes a great addition to this recipe. Now, I'm killing two birds with one stone with this a bit, so I'm going to be using a 1/4 cup of flax seeds because I'm making a personal batch as well as some for this recipe. But if you're just making this recipe, then no need to use this much. For this specific recipe, the ratio I'll be using is about 1/5 gel to about 4/5 of butters. So I'll be using about 1 cup of distilled water and 1 teaspoon of flax seeds specifically for this recipe. But again, why not make enough gel to have some gel on its own on the side for your own individual styling, because that's what I like to do. Might as well while we're here, right? So first, in a large pot, I'm taking some distilled water, and for, of course, my big batch, I'm using 30 fluid ounces, but for your small batch, 1 cup. Now what you want to do is make sure that you set your water to boil at high heat. Once you start to see all the bubbles and boil and trouble, you're going to enter your flax seeds into the mixture, and of course, cooking times will vary based on the size batch you're doing. For my larger batch, I'm going to be cooking for 8 minutes. I noticed 8 minutes gives me the right consistency I need. So I would say 5 minutes for a more watery gel, 8 minutes for an average gel, and then about 10 to 12 minutes for a really thick gel. I'm not a big fan anymore of the stocking method. I just think it's really hot, it hurts your hands. So here are 2 ways to strain the mixture. Way 1 is to take a regular strainer and pour the mixture in. But since the seeds are so small, I suggest using 2 strainers and overlapping them so that no seeds really fall in. Now the second way is my favorite because this is an ultra fine juicer and strainer that I got, and the link will be posted in the description below. But look at how there are no flax seeds or residue in this mix. It is so pure, and I highly recommend this strainer. It is amazing. And this is what the consistency should look like after it cools for about 5 minutes. And you're just gonna set that aside and separate your batches. For this particular recipe, you only need 3 tablespoons. So everything else I set aside in its own jar. Then I'll be using Shea and mango butter. Now these are 2 of my favorite butters for hair, and they both give similar but slightly unique properties to this mixture. Now Shea butter is extremely moisturizing. It elongates the hair, eliminates frizz. I feel like Shea butter gets mixed up with cocoa butter and other butters that can clog your pores, but Shea butter is relatively low on the comedogenic scale, meaning it is not going to clog your pores. I like to look for products that don't clog your pores on your skin, because sometimes when your hair sits on your shoulders all day, that can give you back acne and shoulder acne and things like that. So that's something I started to change recently. Now I love mango butter because it defines my hair, it reduces frizz, it provides a certain level of environmental protection, and it elongates my hair, but it also adds a little firmness to this mixture. Now I'm going to use the double boil method. Ignore that my Pyrex glass is a little tilted sideways. It's just because there's a little groove at the bottom of this bowl. I enter both of my butters into the innermost cup, and this is boiling hot water in the second bowl, and I'm just going to mix until these butters start to melt, and it is such a beautiful process, y'all. It looks awesome. And then I'm going to add my 1 cup of melted butters into my 3 tablespoons of flaxseed gel, and you'll see why I like to use a little more butter than gel, because it actually helps the consistency a lot. And then I'm going to use roughly 2 to 4 tablespoons of my favorite oils. This is my DIY oil mixture, and you can find this recipe in my last video. I also recommend having a little bit of vitamin E added to your mixture because it can help with oxidization. Next ingredient is optional, but I love to add a tablespoon of guar gum because it adds thickness to the mixture, it adds a little gelatinous properties to the mixture, and it helps everything blend well together. Now, something I see skipped over in so many DIY videos is talking about preserving your actual DIY and the overall shelf life of the mixture and how to store it. So I'm going to talk about that now. This is so important because I see this being miscommunicated in so many videos. Vitamin E, tea tree oil, grapeseed oil, etc. are not preservatives. Okay, you guys hear me? They are not preservatives. A lot of essential oils and things like vitamin E, they are not preservatives, but what they are antioxidants. And what antioxidants do is it helps mixtures delay spoiling and going rancid due to oxidization, meaning when air hits a mixture. So think about if you leave a soup out at night or something, right? Once air starts to hit it, it starts to smell a little bit after a few hours. So antioxidants are very beneficial, but they do not prevent the growth of fungi, bacteria, or yeast in your mixture, and you don't want that in your hair, I promise. And I feel like this can be an entire separate video because there's so much that goes into preservation of products. A lot of the ingredients that we really find icky or nasty on our labels are mostly preservatives. So yeah, if y'all want another video on that, let me know. So in combination with antioxidants, the best way to preserve mixtures, especially with water, which is your worst enemy for spoiling, is a broad spectrum antimicrobial solution. Now there are so many of these on the market and some you can't get as a consumer, but one of my favorites is Optifin/Optifin Plus, but there are so many others that I really love. If I make a separate video, I'll let you guys know some more that are even more powerful and effective based on your needs. Remember when I told you to measure that bowl in the beginning of the video? Now this is where it comes in handy. So for my preservative, I added it at 1% during the cooling process. Now I know that sounds awfully sciencey and cool and kind of confusing, but I'm going to show you the simple way. Alright, so take your current mixture that's in the bowl and weigh the entire thing, and I like to set mine to ounces. And then you're going to subtract that from the weight of the empty bowl that you took before you started. This equals the amount/weight of product that you have made. Then I take the weight of the product and multiply it times 1%, and that is the quantity of preservative you will add to your mixture. And for those who may need an example, let's say that your total mix in the bowl weighed 11 ounces and then the bowl weighed 3 ounces. You subtract those and you get 8 ounces. Our 8 ounces of product multiplied by 0.01, which is 1%, and that would equal out to 0.08 ounces. And if you want to get really technical, that's 0.0767 fluid ounces. Now the conversion from ounces to fluid ounces is a little tricky, but mostly this can be rounded up to 0.8 anyway, so it's not a big deal. And it's really not as hard as it looks. That's about a bottle cap size of preservative that's just whipped into the mixture. But let's say you want to avoid preservatives altogether. How do you do that? Well, you have to limit water in your DIYs because water is a breeding ground for bacterial growth. Make small batches, refrigerate your mixture, and these mixtures tend to only last for about 7 days unless you just were doing shea butter by itself, and then you'd still have to worry about oxidization. But if you use an adequate preservative in addition to antioxidants, this can preserve your DIY for up to 6 months and waterless mixtures for a year or even sometimes over a year. Alright, so back to the recipe. Now that everything's starting to cool down a bit, I'm gonna start whipping this mixture together with my preservative. Again, if you're going to do the DIY flaxseed gel, I highly recommend a preservative so that this can last you months and months as opposed to just a week. But I will talk more in the end of the video about how you can avoid preserving or make this process easier. But honestly, I just love all these ingredients together and how they work for me. But there are other options. So I'm gonna stop talking now and give you guys a little bit of whip cam, butter cam. I don't know about you, but this is really relaxing to me, so enjoy.
You stop getting amazed, cause my heart is in the right place. But I'm about to leave it now. Feel me shining through somehow.
Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed that. But as you can see, this mixture is not like a traditional whipped shea butter because it has that flaxseed gel and guar gum in it. So it's going to be flipping around a little bit more liquidy, but look at how this looks, y'all. So then I'm going to take this long tall cup and a plastic bag slash Ziploc bag that's already been sanitized, and look at this whipped curling cream, y'all. Oh my gosh, looks like cake batter. And then I'm going to start loading this in. This is also really relaxing for me to look at, so I hope y'all enjoy that I included all the clips of this. And you're just going to slide this in and pack it in with your spatula, just as you keep doing it, wiping it on the edge to avoid a mess, and just pushing the other product down with your spatula. And it really looks almost edible, guys. Oh my goodness. Another thing I forgot to mention is I do like adding a little bit of a fragrance oil, but that's just my preference because shea butter can smell pretty strong, so I like adding different flavors and things to this to make it really smell good in my hair. But that's up to you. Some people are really sensitive to fragrance, so do what works for you. And look at that. So that is the mixture all packed in to my plastic baggie. Then we're going to slowly slide this out of the cup, and this method works well because it avoids a mess big time. Then you're going to just seal the edges of your bag after you pull it out safely. And make sure you seal them nice and tight because when you're pushing this mixture out, you don't want it to leak everywhere, trust me. And then you see that corner, make a little space in the corner and pinch it. And then you're just going to take some sanitized scissors and you're going to cut the edge of that bag to the size of your liking. I prefer a medium size because I have this beautiful big jar that I got from Amazon, which I'll link below. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was able to fill it neatly but also efficiently and not spend too much time on it. And then what I like to do is after I get that initial clump in there, I like to start sticking to the edges of the container, as you'll start to see here, and boom. And you're just gonna kind of roll the bag down as you're squeezing everything out. You might have to readjust, but look at that, y'all. It looks like a dessert. And oh my gosh, you can add colors to this if you want to make it really fun. Do whatever works best for you, and boom, there you go. So this is a moisturizing and defining shea butter and flaxseed cream with mango butter. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you try it out, let me know how it goes for you. And one day maybe I'll sell something like this, so let me know if you'd like me to do some more products for sale. Love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. I work really hard on these and I appreciate every single one of you. Peace out and gang gang. Happy moisturizing.
I need a little bit